fiends, friends, and familiars. This is Matt Orozco from Macabre Daily here, and I am so excited to be joined by actor and executive producer DeWanda Wise from Imaginary. DeWanda, thank you for spending some time with us.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. I know we don't have too much time, so I'm going to try and keep it snappy, but I'm going to start with a softball question. Did you have an imaginary friend when you were younger?
I did not. I did not have an
No.
imaginary friend. I did play house a lot, and when we played house, I was always the dad.
Huh. That paternal instinct. I mean, you brought it
I was
brought a little
always
bit
like,
of
I gotta
that
go to work. I'll see you guys later. Like, I don't know.
to was that from your own personal experience, just seeing how your parents were like, oh, they're just going to work, so I guess that's what they do?
No idea. But like after that, it manifested. Like I played Prospero. Like I played a lot of commanding. I mean, that's where Jessica came in. Jessica came in
Right.
because what you see before you is a lifetime of playing authoritative and commanding characters. And I was like, I'm tired. I want to be soft.
Time to take a back seat for a moment. But well, I know that this is your third film as executive producer, so I'm a couple curious about a few things. One, what drew you at a production level to want to get involved with Imaginary, but also as an actor, what about Jessica really drew you to the role?
Those questions are kind of simultaneous. I just have a whole little working thesis. I keep running this experiment, and you'll probably see me run it again and again. But it's essentially, you know, years and years ago, someone, I won't be specific, but they were just talking about like, oh, acting for a specific genre or a specific thing, and I do think that's the case. Like, obviously, if you're in a comedy, you're in a comedy, and there's certain things you can get away with. But I just remember how like turned off I was by that notion that any genre would require kind of less, because that's the implication.
Right.
Um, so all to say, both as an actor and as an EP on the movie, I was really invested in really grounded performances, and seeing how truthful we could all be given the extraordinary, like given a
Right.
demonic teddy bear, you know what I mean? Because I just felt like, there's like two varieties. Jeff calls it Jaws 1 and Jaws 2. There's the movie you watch, the horror movie you watch, where you're like rooting for the protagonist to make it through, and like you're really rooting for this family. And then there's the ones you watch where, I mean, Freddie's kind of like this, where you're like, get him,
Right.
Freddie,
Yeah, he's the star.
be the star. You know what I mean?
I
You're like,
do.
get them all, get those kids.
Yeah, I mean, it's so much of the horror genre has kind of evolved around elevating the antagonist, right? Because it ends up becoming the franchise kind of driver, if you will.
Yeah.
But I think we're starting to see more, horror movies where the antagonists are really more reflective of something else, and not so much their anti-hero. So I think that there's a lot of those themes in Imaginary, and it kind of brings me to the role of Jessica. It's quite a tough remit as someone who has, step parents. It's very difficult to step into a family that kind of has already developed some bonds, especially with the history of trauma like this one has. How much of that character was written to the script, and how much of that did you bring your own kind of unique performance and flair to?
I'm sure they did not foresee all the feels. Like I, whenever I see a character on a page, I like think about the full reality of everything that means and all that entails, down to thinking like, oh, that's probably a person who jumps. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, it's probably the person whose trauma manifests as like, oh, sorry. Like, I've been married for 15 years at this point, and my
Congratulations.
thank you. But he's still like, still. It's like, you still, I'm in the house, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, so it's a lot of the details, a ton of the details always gets woven into. I mean, to the point where I think, but that's like every character I play, to be honest with you. Like I come in with like a nerdy character Bible, and a lot of it becomes integrated into everything, the wardrobe, hair, everything. So yeah, I don't know if that answered your question.
It does. I mean, it's pretty apparent, right? Especially there's a, pivotal scene where you kind of turn on Taylor and, for a was like, oh, damn, like that's harsh, But again, it's a part of that knowing, I guess, the character in and out well enough to know, like, how do I need to be when I'm not at my worst, but then in order to be my worst, what does that look like? So having that range of emotion kind of, already understood probably makes it a little bit easier, I imagine, to just show up and perform.
Yeah, for sure. And in this context, it was like paramount that any like nerdy actor prep I did was kind of done so that I could be closer to like the producer when I was there. Like I just had to make sure that I was like, okay, I'm good, I'm covered, I'm ready, I'm prepared, I've refreshed the visual artist skills.
Was it difficult to balance those two? I mean, kind of because they're very, obviously they work very hand in hand in the creation of the film, but at the same time, they sometimes are at odds with each other. So was it difficult to transition between performance and then producing?
Sometimes, I mean, I think the most challenging thing that I feel again and again, like I feel it happens to me quite a bit. I know I am when I have to do one of those scenes that requires like a lot. I and Piper Braun actually, me and Piper, it's just us two. But I do my best to like shake it off because the energy is really dense. So
Right.
that is something that I just had to like give up the ghost and just let go of and just know that, every crew member is going to be like, you okay? Are you okay? For the rest of the day. Like that's just, it's going to be what it is. But outside of that, making sure that we had an entire crew that felt comfortable and safe really coming to us for anything was like top priority.
Yeah, especially when you're working with younger actors, right? It's so important that they feel safe and that they can perform at their best. And we get great performances from them. So I think, great job, right? Mission accomplished. The film does do kind of balance quite well and harmonize the use of practical and also computer animated effects. Do you have a preference as far as performance goes in regards to like, does it make it easier, more difficult, or are you pretty much used to it, working in front of the green screens and knowing that there is somewhat of an imagination at play, along
Yeah.
with the practical elements?
I mean, I will say I haven't worked a ton. I haven't worked a ton with like green screen. What the way we use green screen in this movie, especially the Never Ever, was like to extend the Never Ever.
Right.
But that set had like 46 doors, you know what I mean?
Oh,
And
wow.
all the monsters that I was working with were there. Dane was there for Bear Beast. Michael's an extraordinary creature performer, was there for the spider and for the entity. So yeah, I haven't had the experience yet, but I will say that for me, whenever anyone's asking like the difference between like, oh, what do you like best, like theater or film and TV kind of thing, film and TV, I mean, there's two outside things outside of like the actual like craft, nerdy actor craft stuff that are essential. One is speed, like one is the capacity to be like action and you deliver performance,
Yes.
yeah, exactly. Like go now, be emotional now. And then the other one is having technical proficiency, and so
Yeah.
that's something that, I love working with my camera ops. You know what I mean? Like I love
Yeah.
working with every member to make sure that, okay, we need this to happen when this happens, so there's always technical challenges when you're filming, no matter what you're working on. And that's something that's like probably the most athletic minded I get on set when I'm like, okay, it's game time.
Yeah, I mean, you need that kind of, that almost that athlete mindset to just kind of go perform. And my last question, hopefully, is an easy one, but I don't know. If you're going to program a double feature and Imaginary is one of the films, what's the other film you're programming with it?
That's a great question. Um, I would say, have you ever seen Stephen King's Christine?
I have.
I would say that. I would say I
It's a
would pair
great
it
pick.
with another haunted objects film.
And they both deal with traumatized characters that seek solace in inanimate objects. So I think you're spot on there. Well, DeWanda, thank you so much for this great conversation. And as a reminder, everyone watching this, Imaginary is out now on VOD platforms. You can go and watch it today. If you're a physical media collector like myself, May 14th, you can go ahead and buy it on Blu-ray and DVD. Thank you so much, DeWanda. Look forward to seeing you in
Thank
the
you.
next one.
Appreciate it.